Hey everybody, welcome. Vaughan Liddycoat here and joining you for a Facebook Live. And if you're watching this in a replay or tuning in, welcome. Today we're going to play a game called Let the Universe Decide. That's where I'd like to cue the theme music, I suppose. And essentially in this training, I'm going to use a book of mine, the size of this bad boy. It's called the Prosperity Bible. And it's a mixture and a composite of some of the greatest books that have sort of been written on, I suppose you could call, the principles of philosophy, the laws of success, certain mindsets, certain philosophies that one can adopt to become happier, to understand how to manifest more abundance in one's life. And one thing I'd like to caution everyone against is the notion that you can control everything in your life. And today we're going to talk about letting the universe decide. And what I mean by that is by having control over your own decisions is one thing, and then letting go of the effect of that decision being the ultimate control and the ultimate power. So I'd like to welcome you. Thank you for tuning in. Get some pens and papers ready. And the way we're going to let the universe decide today is we're going to flip this to a random page, and whatever comes up, I'm just going to start reading. I don't know what book it'll be from. I don't know what page it'll be, but there's thousands of pages in here. So let's let the universe decide. Now, I got this idea from one of my coaches who said every day he goes to his bookshelf, he has about 3,000 books, and he picks one book from the shelf, opens it up, and he truly believes that that's what he's meant to read and learn for the day. So let's check it out. Let's get going and see what happens. Ready? So I feel like I should have some like theme music and a drum roll for this. So we're just going to go boom. All right. So this is starting off by saying, feel pain when they're obliged to ask for money. Spare them that pain, that they will love you. When you receive a sum of money, divide it among people according to your debts. Don't be ashamed of paying a small sum because you owe a greater. Money, more or less, is always welcome. You and your creditor would sooner be at the trouble of receiving something. All right. Now, through it 10 different times or payments, then be obliged to go 10 different times to demand it before he can receive it in a lump. It shows that you are mindful in what you owe. It makes you appear a careful as well as honest man or woman, and that it increases your credit. Be aware of thinking all you own that you possess and live accordingly. Now, it's a mistake that many people will have credit will fall into. To prevent this, keep an exact account of both time and both your expenses and income. If you take pains at first to mention particulars, it will have a good effect. You will discover how wonderfully small trifling expenses mount up to large sums, and will discern what might have been and may for the future be saved without occasioning any great inconvenience. In short, the way to wealth, if you desire it, is as plain as the way to market. It depends chiefly on two words: industry and frugality. That is, waste neither time nor money, but make the best use of both. He or she that gets all he can and saves all he gets, expenses accepted, will certainly become rich if that being governs the world. To all whom should look for blessing on their honest endeavors, does not, in his or her wise providence, otherwise determine. So sometimes these things can be quite wordy because a lot of these books are old, right? It's called The Way to Wealth. I'm not sure who this is about, who actually wrote this particular book. But essentially, if we look back on what that actually means, and it's very interesting when you look at things like this, because you don't necessarily have to agree with the principles that might get said. So for example, the whole idea of doing that and letting the universe decide is to pick and extrapolate the lesson. It's not to just blindly follow anything. It's to think about it. It's to play with the idea, to sort of measure it up against where you're at and then apply the lesson. See, if we read, that's not going to do anything. We must apply what we learn and then see what result that application has. When that result changes from the application of what we learn, that's actually what is referred to as learning. Learning is not reading. Do you understand the difference? Think back to yourself. Now, again, if you are to read something, that doesn't mean you're learned, right? There's no such thing as a learned individual, just like there's no such thing as an educated person. You're either learning or you're not. And it's imperative that you learn to unlearn. So how you've been doing things, how I've been doing things, may not be the best way. And there may be a better way to do things. And the way we do that is by challenging what our ideas are about the way we operate, the way we do things. We do that by getting new information, new pieces of knowledge, new bits of wisdom, from people who have demonstrated by results that they know what they're talking about. And then what we do is we take the information, we take the advice, we apply it by that one idea, we apply it in our own life. When that result changes, our observation of that change is what learning actually is. And we realize, now I can continue to do that and I'll get that result. And so if you're in debt, or in this case, it's talking about debt and saving and not spending as much as you earn, but saving a portion of it. I believe in saving, but I don't believe in saving for a rainy day, because that's typically what you get. You see, what you focus on, you get more of. So when we say let the universe decide, what essentially this means is that if we make a decision to do something, we have our own free will, and whether you think that's an illusion or not is another thing, but we have our own free will. We can make a decision based on what we already know and the education that we currently have and what we do know. And so we make the decision, but then we have to let go of the effect of the decision, meaning that we can take all the action we need and want on a daily basis towards a goal or to a certain place that we want to get to, or a level we may want to achieve. However, if we are forcing that result and we're trying to change the result again and again and again, well, we're setting ourselves up to fail, because you and I have no idea how long a goal or how long anything that we actually set out to go after will take. Nobody can actually say that. No one can guess how much potential you have either. And no one can say that it will take 12 months for you to double your income. It's a great idea and it's a good goal, but nobody actually knows. It could take you 5 years, because you have to learn certain things and you have to unlearn certain things. And there are tests that have to sort of be passed as you go through this. And the way we speed that shorten that time frame and speed things up is by doing what I just did. Let the universe decide. Pick something and read it. Just a section, but then apply it. By doing that, you change the results in your life rapidly. If you did this every day and made it a habit, I guarantee you, your life would change. The way that you experience life will change, because your perception will. Because if you do this on a daily basis, you're not getting caught in the grind, and you're not getting caught in the every day-to-day nuances and the every day-to-day things that happen. You're actually changing your mind to become more awakened, if you will, and to really start to see things. But if you want true power, the real key is take that knowledge, put it to work, but release the outcome of it. Release any sort of attachment to it absolutely having to happen in your life. Because the moment you do that, the paradox is you ultimately get more power. So if you're trying to control people, if you're trying to control the sales in your business, if you're trying to control your weight, if you're trying to control the relationship quality, well, you need to actually let that go. By releasing it, you get more power, and you actually attract to you what you're seeking. By trying to go get it, and you can't try anyway, but by trying to go get it, or by going and getting it, making it happen, you actually push away that which you want. It's a strange paradox, but it's how it works. Another thing you can think about with this idea is by looking to nature. Think about how your hair grows. Think about how your nails grow. You didn't have to do anything for them for those to happen. You didn't have to make it happen. You didn't have to force your hair, your skin, your nails, your height, your garden to grow. Now, there's a universal power, I suppose, and science is studying this, theology studies this. There's a power that flows to and through you that the unconscious, I like to call it the superconscious mind, basically governs. Your heart beats, you don't have to do anything for that. It's a gift. You breathe without having to think. And in fact, when you try to breathe, when you think about breathing, it actually makes it worse. You actually lose breath, you get tired. Think about it. That's because you're trying to breathe. When you try to meditate, you can't meditate. Your mind goes even more and more racier and racier. So when we try things, we force it. And when we aim to make things happen and force them to happen, again, it negates and it gets further away from us, just like trying to breathe harder. So the same is true with the ideas that you learn by letting the universe decide. So picking a chapter at random, or deciding to go a different route to work, or letting those things happen. We get a choice on the meaning of those, but we also get a choice on whether we attach a meaning or attach too much power to a situation. And by doing that and releasing the outcome of what we're desiring, we actually get more of it and we attract it faster. Not that it's going to not attract. I will just say this just quickly. When it comes to attraction, you are attracting all the time. It's not a religion. It's not even a belief system. It's just how things work. So if you're worried about what you're attracting, understand that worry will attract more worry, and that you already are a magnet. Your body vibrates at a certain frequency. Your thoughts get off on send off on a certain frequency, and you attract that which you are. You don't get to decide on what you attract, in the sense of, will I implement the law of attraction today or not? Well, I better not today because I'm feeling pretty shit. Well, guess what? In that moment, what are you going to attract? That which you are. So because this is constantly happening all the time, let it go. Don't freak out. Don't worry and go, gee, I'm going to screw things up even more now. It should be liberating. You should realize that the way a tree grows is by attraction. And that's exactly how your life grows. So when a seed is planted into the ground, what it does is, if that seed was on a desk, well, it wouldn't sprout. It wouldn't become a tree. In the right environment, that seed placed into the right soil will start to attract the forces it needs, or through, I suppose, attraction, it starts to germinate. The genes, the pattern plan's already in the seed, and then that seed, because it's in the right environment, starts to open up. And then from there, it continues to attract what it needs via nutrients, water. It attracts it, and the tree grows. That's exactly the same for how your life operates with goals. Goals are essentially a spiritual seed. Anything you want to do is essentially operating by the same methodology. And so therefore, it's very important that, just like a tree growing, you can't force it to happen. What you must do is relax, and you can't force yourself to relax, right? There's a great book. It's not a great book, I should say. It's a funny title because it's called You Must Relax. Think about that for a moment, and you'll see the irony of that. It's just like trying to do something. You can't try. You either do it or you don't. So let go, release things, let the universe decide, and trust that there's something happening that's going to work in your favor, and that your only job is to do the best with what you can, start where you are, and relax in the fact that the more you let go, the more power you ultimately have. This is Vaughan Liddicoat, and thank you so much for tuning in today. If some of these ideas were new to you or foreign concepts, don't dismiss them. Simply go back through the lesson, start doing some of your own thinking and pondering, and by that you'll start to see some of the truisms that I've learned and passed on to you, and you'll start to witness them and see them in your own life. And you'll realize the more you understand this, the more you think about it, the better you're going to start to feel about yourself. But you'll also realize the more you don't know, and that in itself is okay too. Just let go of that idea, release things, stop trying to control everything, just focus on what you can do, which is to relax and let go. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next training.